Everybody like, oh, Charleston White took it too far. Charleston White took it too far. Well, whose fault was it? Gillie the kid. If you'd have just left that man alone, we wouldn't be right here right now. And everything Gillie the kid said about Charleston White and Cam Newton, he did. So Gillie the kid is the biggest hypocrite there is. I mean, I really don't like Gillie the kid. He's a Sambo to me. I mean, buck dancing, always talking about how he was a street kid, a stick-up kid, you know. Only reason I even look at the clips is because of Wallow, because Gillie is really an immigrant, and Gillie promotes that street life, which is a danger to black people. I mean, he's a clown to me. He's a step it and fetch it. It wouldn't be surprising, you know, you see Gillie doing gay porn in a minute, because he's going to do anything for the money. But let's get to it. First of all, Gillie told Cam Newton, you never won a Super Bowl. There's two things about this. So is Trent Dilfer better than Cam Newton? Because Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Is the last Philadelphia quarterback better than Cam Newton? Because he won a Super Bowl and he was a backup. So winning the Super Bowl doesn't make you a great quarterback or elite quarterback, because we have seen subpar quarterbacks win the Super Bowl. Dan Marino, Dan Fouts, two of the greatest quarterbacks ever, never won Super Bowls. And if you look at Jalen Hurts was barely, they was talking about trading him like 2 years ago because he wasn't that person. And what he said is true, because if you look at Jaden McDaniels of Washington, Jaden McDaniels has less talent and somehow got them to the playoffs. So Jaden McDaniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, because talent around you, it does mean a lot of things. Like when LeBron James took that team his first time to the finals, that team wasn't talented. So that means that team was on the backs of LeBron James. So all you Philadelphia fans, you can get mad if you want to at Cam Newton, but what he said was true, and you know it. He called Brock Purdy a game manager too. And we all seen that when the talent got hurt around Brock Purdy was like, showed why he was the last quarterback picked. But when he had talent, he was good. Talent means a lot of things. When you have talent around you, it makes you look better than what you are. Look at Colin Kaepernick. He had a lot of talent around him, and we thought he was an elite quarterback. But when their talent left, he was just an average quarterback. Talent means a lot. So you're telling Cam Newton he never won a Super Bowl, but yet you as a rapper never went platinum. Lil Wayne went platinum. So you're out here chasing around Lil Wayne and talking crap about Lil Wayne, just like Cam Newton is talking crap about Jalen Hurts. But Cam Newton got an MVP. Cam Newton went to a Super Bowl. You never went platinum. You never was a big-time artist. You started out as a rapper. That's why you're in the podcast game. No one cared about you. When you first came out, everyone was like, oh, this is the Jay-Z from Philly. And I was like, when I first heard you, you was cool. But then I was like, man, this dude sounds too much like Jay-Z. If I want to listen, I don't want to listen to the Walmart version of Jay-Z. Okay? So you interviewed Whack 100. You interviewed a lot of bums. You had Tony the Closer on your show. You interviewed a lot of bums. But then you tell Cam Newton, taking a shot at Charleston White, that he interviewed Charleston White. Wait a minute, you can't be a hypocrite living in a glass house throwing stones. That's what you're doing. Because everything you're accusing Cam of, you did. You did. And your podcast ain't even in the top 5. I mean, you probably want to put that black on top of yours, but your cousin Wallow said, oh, black shit don't mean nothing. But it means something in your case, because when it comes to podcasts, you're not even close to the top 5. Now, I could be wrong, but when it comes to the top 100 podcasts on Spotify, the number 1 black podcast is Sean Stockman. You're not even up there. You are Steven Jackson, are Drink Champs. So maybe I want to put black in front of that. Maybe you need to tell your cousin for us to be one of the top podcasts, we need to put the word black because you're not one of the top podcasts. Sean Stockman is the top black podcast at 54 on the Spotify list. Show me some other list. I could be wrong. But you knew what you did when you summoned Charleston White. But here's the thing, though. Everyone else is going to give you a pass, but I'm not. I'm not going to say anything bad about your son being dead or, say something like, oh, my son's still living. I'm not going to do that. But you know why your son is dead. And this happens a lot in the black community. You had money. You had money. There was no reason for your son to even be around that life. And this is for T.I. and Little Bootsy too. Because if y'all sons, all of you rich rappers and ball players and entertainers, if y'all sons get killed in the street life, that's y'all's fault. Why is your son in the street life? Only one person came out here and condemned his son for doing some shit that he didn't even live. And that was Michael Irvin, who told his son, why are you doing that? You ain't never lived that lifestyle. Why are you out here doing that? What's the use of getting money? I thought the use of getting money is to get our families out of the hood. Well, it seems like the use of getting money now is to put our families back in the hood. I thought that was the name of the game, to get money to get our families out of the hood. It was your fault, your cousin's fault. Y'all give $1 million a game to street niggas. And Charleston White was wrong in that point when he said no one took your game, but it was too fucking late. King Von already unalived people. Lil Durk was already deep. They was too deep in the game to take your game. But your son, he wasn't deep in the game. So you and your cousin running around here giving everyone $1 million worth of game, should have gave your son some game. Should have told your son when he was rapping about shit that he shouldn't have known about, hey, don't do that. When he was hanging with people he shouldn't have hung with, you should have said, hey, man, don't do that. But you didn't. You was on podcast thinking it was cool that your son is rapping about some shit that he shouldn't even know about because you have money. And that's the problem in the black community. Instead of running away from the ghetto, we're running back to the ghetto. When I say run away from the ghetto, I'm not talking about run away from black people. I'm talking about we run back to the destructive culture that is taking down our young kids. Your son put himself in that position. I don't care if the bullet wasn't meant for him. He should have never been there, but you didn't do your job as a father. And I'm not just talking to you. You're a warning to everyone else that it's your job, if you got money, to keep your kids off the street. We got too many middle-class kids, upper middle-class kids that want to be hood. That's hustling backwards. What's the use of me hustling to get money to get you out of the hood so you can go back to the hood and hang with the same destructive culture? So, yeah, Charleston White was wrong in that regard to say, like, oh, your son is toe-tagged and all that shit. But he wasn't wrong to call you out for what your son losing his life, because you have to deal with that. But you still promote that silly-ass lifestyle. You was the reason your son got unalive, because you promoted the street lifestyle. You promoted the not snitching. You kept all that shit up. And you portrayed that image to your son, that your son ran to the streets. But instead of trying to change your ways and saying, you know what, and being like your cousin, who I can respect more than you, who's like, I don't glorify the street. I don't want to talk about the streets. I know I was wrong. He's not trying to make himself seem tough like you, talking about you was a stick-up kid, talking about you came on the block and no one showed you love. You're doing that. That's what you're portraying. Instead of showing them something different, a different way of life. I mean, come on, cuz. You portraying that old stupid-ass thug life. You 50 years old, man. You, OG Percy, Whack 100, all you niggas 50 years old. Why can't us older niggas who show the youth a better way? We already know the lifestyle that we're trying to portray, that street life, it's only death and destruction. So Charleston White didn't go too far. Gillie went too far.